Thank you for joining me in another week of Learning with a Jewelry Specialist. Again, I'm Emily Huth, and I will be helping you guys today. Today, we're going to be going over the anatomy of the ring. So just kind of stating and showing the differences between how different like the gemstones can be set in the setting, also for the accent stones, how they can be set in differently, and kind of the finish of the ring, engraving, hand engraving, filigree, everything like that, which we will go over. What I'm going to be doing a lot today is sharing my screen so that you guys can see a little bit larger, really see all that detailing and the differences there. If you don't know, that Brilliant Earth is a responsibly sourced jewelry company. So we do focus on making sure that we're responsibly sourcing our diamonds, gemstones, and metals, while also being able to give back to the community. So for our diamonds and gemstones, we do make sure we only work with specific mines, making sure that, of course, there are no children working in the mines, that the miners are being paid fair wages, that they're in safe working environments, and that they're taking the most environmentally friendly way to mine for those stones. Also, we do offer lab-created gemstones and diamonds. Optically, physically, chemically, they are the exact same. So being able to purchase something just as beautiful and long-lasting, but not having to mine for it is a really great option. Also, all of our metals are 100% recycled metals. So there's no new mining that takes place within the creations of the actual bands and settings themselves. We also do give 5% of our profits back to communities that have been negatively impacted with the mining industry. So just something overall that you can feel a lot better about. All right, you guys, well, let's hop into the anatomy of a ring. So what we're gonna start with is how the diamond is set in the settings. So first is the basket setting. The basket is a really great setting. It's a little bit of a lower setting, so it sits really nice and flush to the hand. There's that little bar there, as you guys can see right here, which still allows, it's a secure setting, but still allows a lot of light to reflect through. Along with that is the trellis. So very similar. Again, it allows it to sit really nicely with the flush with the hand, sit a little bit lower if that's what you're wanting, but a really nice design with that trellis. It kind of is a little twist right there, but again, still having that bar, still having a little bit more of kind of the similarities of a basket, again, allowing a lot of light to reflect through. So bezel. Bezel is a great setting. It's a little bit more modern. So there's actually no prongs, as you can see. It's just metal that holds in that center stone. And depending on the setting, we have like the Luna, which underneath there's nothing. So again, still allows a lot of light to reflect through. And a couple of the other ones like the Imogen and the Sierra do have some like design on the basket. So a couple good options there if you like a bezel. Again, a little bit more modern, really great for someone who's a little bit more active. You don't have to worry about snagging a prong or anything. Then the halo, which is what we talked about the first week. So that is going to be the small accent stones that wrap around the center stone. Really beautiful option. It allows to, maximize even more on the sparkle for not only that center stone, but then having more small stones kind of around it, even more sparkle there. Who can hate that, right? Really beautiful option. Overall, really it allows the center stone to look even larger too, if that's what you're kind of going for, the style. Now the three stone is really beautiful. It's a really beautiful classic look. It represents the past, present, and future. So really great option. Again, very meaningful. We do offer a little bit more of a style similar to this. So our like three stone trellis and three stone Catalina. Those are going to be a little bit more of those more traditional three stones. So the two diamonds on either side of that center stone are going to be a little bit larger. Whereas we do also offer settings such as the Celine and the Aria, which are what we call or consider to be a more modern type of a three stone, since those diamonds are going to be a little bit smaller on either side. All really beautiful options. Now the compass setting is a little bit more unique. It looks like a very classic 4-prong style, but with the prongs being at the north, south, east, and west of the ring. Again, it just adds a little bit of a different look to your ring. Now the integrated head is actually from the setting the Reverie. So it has a really nice design, kind of like that weaving within underneath of that center stone. And then the peg head is just a very classic look. It's going to be that band with the diamond sitting right on top of it. The great thing about the peg head is that it allows so much light to reflect through it. Now moving on, we're going to be looking at how the different types of how those accent stones can be set into the band. The pave or bead set, it looks very similar to a channel set if you have them side by side, but it does add a little bit more, it does have the prongs, so a little bit more even extra and added security. And the pave just meaning that there's prongs on each side, so 4 prongs on each side of that diamond. And now the shared prong style, which we have is for like our petite shared prong. A lot of our eternity shared prong styles are going to have this. This is a really beautiful style. It actually has less prongs. So there's only 2 prongs holding on either side of the diamond, and it shares those prongs with the diamond next to it. The great thing about this option is that the diamonds kind of appear to be sitting on top of the band and not so much embedded in the band. So it allows a lot of that light to reflect through. It's really going to have a lot of sparkle, which is great. And also you can have that bezel for the accent stones. As you can see here, they're just more flush and a little bit more integrated within the band and has all the metal and no prongs. Now that bar set is going to, it usually holds what they call baguettes. Again, very secure. You don't have the prongs. You do just have that little bar that's holding on either side of that baguette accent stone. But again, not having it on all 4 sides really allows a lot of that light to reflect through as well. Now for the French pave and the scallop pave, these are both very similar. They're going to appear to have a little bit more of that split prong from the top of them. As they say here for the French pave, it's like a V. I always remembered it more as like a W. Again, basically the same thing. So either that little V or little W is going to be what's holding in that accent stone. Whereas for the scallop pave, it's going to be little U's, which again, if you're looking at them side by side, you might not be able to see those differences right off the bat. But it's really good to know if you're looking for, say, a matching wedding band and you want to say, okay, well, my engagement ring is a French pave, so I want to go with a matching French pave wedding band with the engagement ring. Both really great options there. All right, so now for the different band types. So we have a little bit more of like a modern style is how I would kind of put this one for the more flat or quattro. That would be for like our petite quattro, our Lumiere setting. They're going to have a little bit more of like that squared band. And now for the comfort fit, most, like our petite comfort fits, our 2mm comfort fits, 3mm comfort fits, they're going to have that rounded edge, but also a little bit more rounded on the inside, giving it that comfort when you're wearing it throughout the day. And now for the rounded, that's going to be more like the Catalina, which is also a very comfortable setting. It's also very rounded and it kind of like tapers off a little, and it's really soft where it like transitions to the inside of the band. Now a knife edge. So again, if you hadn't heard this before, I do have the hazel setting. The hazel or the 6-prong classic are both going to be those knife edges. The hazel is going to be a very delicate knife edge, whereas the 6-prong classic is a thicker knife edge. It's very delicate. It adds a little bit more of a design to the band depending on the style that you're going for. Something that I will tell you though is if you have a sensitive finger and you don't really want, anything kind of poking you from appointments, it doesn't really bother me. I've had appointments where it does bother them. So that's something to think about. If you have a little bit more of a sensitive finger, maybe go with something more like the comfort fit or a rounded edge. All right, and that split shank, again, I know we talked about the Reverie. So that's also going to be like the Reverie. The Duet is a pave split shank, which is kind of in this photo here. So what that is going to be where it's a straight band and then kind of separates to kind of split where it gets to the top of the diamond. So really great look. Again, very elegant, but it adds a little bit of a little bit more unique, something you don't always see. Now for the cathedral, I always like to compare the cathedral and the peg head. So I'm kind of going to go back up here where you can see with the cathedral, you have a little bit of that spacing underneath the diamond, and then the band kind of sits on top of that. And the band is usually going to hit the middle or the top of the diamond for that cathedral setting. Now, again, for the peg head, it's going to sit right on top. They're both honestly going to sit up pretty similar. They both sit up a little bit higher. Um, both beautiful options, but I would just go based off stylistically, kind of what you're liking. And now the bypass is going to be where the diamonds, they kind of twist. Again, you kind of see a little bit of that split edge or split shank. It's going to be found in the chemise diamond ring, in the grace. But one of those split shanks are going to be a little bit thicker, and then one is a little thinner. And it kind of is like opposite. So for like also the willow, and it almost allows the band to appear to be kind of twisting. All right, so now finally for the finish of the rings, and this is again going to be for the bands, this could be for the engagement ring or for the wedding band. We have that mill grain design. Mill grain is going to be those little tiny beads that you see right here. We're going to see like on the tiara, on the cadenza. Really beautiful option. It almost gives it a little bit more of that vintage feel without having like a filigree or an engraving. And now that matte, or it's also called brushed or a satin finish. Whereas, so there's the matte and then the high polish. The matte, you're just not going to have that, bright polish of the metal. It is a little bit more muted. It's again kind of that brushed look. Very beautiful. It's a little bit more of, I would say, a modern look for your engagement ring or wedding band. And now the filigree, again, going back into that more vintage kind of design. It's little tiny elegant pieces. It really adds a lot of craftsmanship to your ring. I love both the filigree and the hand engraving. And I'll tell you the differences there. The filigree is going to be with the machine. So as you can see that this is going to be a little bit deeper, whereas the hand engraving is actually done by the jeweler. So this is where you see it's not quite as deep, but it's really still a beautiful option. And now hammered, as you can kind of see, it just adds a little bit of texture to your ring. It's a really great option. This can be done on either a matte finish or a high polished finish. So you can have that high polished with the matte, the high polished with the hammered, or the matte with the hammered. Again, just adding a little bit of texture to your ring, a little bit more. Again, if you're a little bit more active, really great option there. It makes it almost a little bit harder to see like any scratches just with the hammering adding texture already on top of that. So I hope that was helpful. This is really great when you're looking for a setting. You're like, oh, I really love a peg head. And then, okay, I see a couple settings and these two have the peg head that I like. This one doesn't. Maybe I'm going to take that off. It might just help make your decision a little easier. And I did just want to let you know that, again, I really want to do this on my own, I've got this, but hey, I've got a quick little question that I just want to answer. We do have a wonderful chat system. If you've got some quick questions to be answered, something that's a little bit more, either kind of a lot of questions or a question that's going to have a lot to it, and you don't want to get confused with somebody chatting you a long paragraph, feel free to just give us a call at our 1-800 number. We are always here to help. And make this, again, just as simple and fun and easy as possible. Thank you all so much for joining me again this week, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful rest of the day. Bye, guys.